Let's begin first by briefly describing some of the logistics of deployment. The Disaster Behavioral Health function is part of the Operations section of the Incident Command System. Disaster behavioral health is often part of an overall public health response. In the field, you will work in pairs with another disaster behavioral health volunteer and report to a team leader. The phrase span of control is used to describe the optimal number of workers under each team leader. Generally, in behavioral health, we will assign 5 to 7 pairs of responders to each team leader. You should always work with another person in the field for safety and for your own support. Team members have a responsibility to keep their leaders informed and to report in as directed. You may be deployed at any phase of a disaster. How you approach your work in the field depends on which phase of response or recovery the community is in. So before you go out, be sure to understand which phase of the disaster the community is in. We use the theoretical model developed by Zunin and Myers in California that outlines phases of disaster and the anticipated collected emotional response of the community. In some cases, you may be deployed to a location where people are anticipating a disaster. This is the pre-disaster or warning phase. People may be on edge and are bracing for the unexpected. After the initial shock of the disaster, there is a period where emotions run high, referred to as the heroic phase. Community members and emergency workers bond together in immediate response activities. You will see neighbors helping each other, and the community welcomes volunteers. The heroic phase often culminates in a honeymoon period, in which there is great optimism. The media may celebrate stories of dramatic rescues, survival, community spirit, volunteerism, and donations of money and resources. Next, however, there is typically a time of disillusionment, as the true extent of loss sinks in. The spirit of community cohesion may diminish as some aspects of the community recover faster than others, and there may be competition for resources. Some may have a sense of unfairness or anger at the bureaucracy that always accompanies disaster recovery. Over time, the healthy emotional recovery process can lead to pre-disaster emotional functioning, or even higher. Our job is to help with the emotional recovery process. No matter when you are deployed, it is important to understand the different types of disaster volunteers you may encounter as part of the response. We use the population exposure model to identify those most in need of behavioral health assistance. This model is based on level of exposure to disaster events. The center of the circle contains survivors and others who have the most direct physical exposure to the event. As you work your way out of the center, the number of people increases and the level of exposure to the event decreases. We are concerned about everyone, but use different strategies for outreach to each group. PFA-trained teams are often deployed to work with those in rings closer to the center. Once you are in the field, you will be responsible for several key activities. You will be asked to track your activity, including recording how many people you see, the reactions you're seeing, and the number of materials you distribute. The 3 things we track on the forms are brief contacts, less than 15 minutes each, meaningful contacts we call crisis counseling contacts, which are usually 15 minutes or longer, and the number of educational materials we distribute. Keep track of where and how many people you encounter in high-risk groups, but don't capture names. We may want to deploy additional resources in the areas you describe to recontact people. When you go out into the field, regardless of where you are assigned, you will be providing support to those around you. Also, be sure to lean on your team for your own support and take breaks as you need them, and when encouraged to do so by your supervisor or peers. This concludes Module 1, Introduction.